Good morning, everyone. Thanks for your patience. We'll call the meeting to order. Welcome to the Board of Commissioners meeting. I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Bojack.
Present.
Vice Chair Burrow.
Here.
Commissioners DeBoer.
Here.
Faber.
Here.
Halsted.
Here.
Hennessy.
Here.
Hildenbrand.
Here.
Coleman.
Here.
LeGrand.
Here.
McLeod.
Here.
Merchant.
Here.
Morales.
Here.
Morse.
Here.
Oliver King.
Here.
Pakla.
Here.
Ponstein. Sparks.
Here.
Steck. Steck. Commissioners Teal.
Here.
Womack. Chair Green.
Here.
Mr. Chair, you have 19 yeas, 19 members present, 2 absent. You have a quorum. No voting yet.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I will call on Commissioner Hildebrand to lead us in the invocation.
Good morning. Please pray with me. Thank you, Lord, for bringing us together on this beautiful spring morning. You have provided us with blessings beyond belief, and we are so fortunate to live in this wonderful community of Kent County, in this great nation. Please guide our discussion this morning as we work on behalf of the residents of Kent County, and bless public officials around the world to make good decisions that are right and just. As Proverbs say, trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths. Let us conduct the business of the county with these things in mind. Please keep us safe always and deliver us from evil. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Commissioner Hildebrand. It's one of my favorite passages from Scripture and President Ford's favorite. I'm sure you knew that, and that's why you picked it for today. So, all right, we will move on to agenda item number 5, public comment related only to agenda action items. Is there anyone for public comment on agenda action items only? Welcome. Do you please let us know which agenda item you're speaking to?
Approve federal and state legislative priorities.
Thank you.
Hi, how y'all doing?
First off, I want to give Kent County
A tip of my hat for putting the agendas. Not only do you guys be transparent of putting the agendas and the times,
but I can sit at the house and look what is going to happen in executive committee and Kent County board, because I actually do that. I don't write anything down. I just look, and then I'm just like, all right, I'm just going to go speak on that. But I see that you guys have one of the priorities, which is secure long-term fiscal stability for local governments and looking to have a revenue sharing trust fund. I just spoke to you guys about our Cash Influencers initiative, where we give people 50% of the revenue without a pyramid scheme, without any fees up front, without anything like that. I'm going to bring you guys the document of the difference of a pyramid scheme and a Cash Influencers. I will actually be ethically, equitably create an opportunity, because I like to be able to share some of the revenue from Play Esports Playfield with Kent County. I love to donate some of the funds so you guys can do some good ethical things and be able to improve the services around Kent County and the facilities and all the beautiful things that Kent County looks to offer. So I wanted to be able to put that out there.
Also, I seen on the legislative priorities that you guys are looking to get some funds for violence prevention.
As you guys know, I'm going to be developing an entire summer program for the city of GR, the second largest city in the state of Michigan behind Detroit. While I was at city council, I actually was looking at the state of the city for the city of Detroit, and bam, I seen Grand Action 2.0 and the 3 projects and the 700 M's that we got from all of the tax revenues, some stuff like that. I pay attention to all government at all levels, because I know I'm a high-level human being that can do beautiful things for the state of Michigan, not just Kent County, but all across the globe also. So as you guys know, I'm developing a summer program from June 9th to August June 6th to August 9th and having colleges across the state and a $32 billion company not only giving education at the esports activations that started in April during spring break, but also through the whole summer. I'm excited to do that and then bringing that back around and hosting the large regional finals where kids all across the states are going to be coming here to compete for 3 days at the DeVos Place. So once you guys are thinking about getting this funding, I'd like you guys to think about D. Jones, because I'm also going to be bringing kids from King County as we have a partnership. We're going to be going to the Detroit Lions facility again, and I know it's going to be even better this time. So I want you guys to think about D. Jones and think about cryptocurrency as we can actually adopt crypto and not have to up the taxes of constituents, because I ain't trying to give y'all taxes when y'all can get it for free. Thank you.
Thank you, Dee. Anybody else for public comment related to agenda items only? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to agenda item number 6, the consent agenda. I will call on Commissioner Hildebrand.
Thank you, Chair Green. I move today's consent agenda.
Is there support? Support. Supported by Commissioner Teal. Any discussion? I don't see any. All those in favor of the adoption of the consent agenda, say aye. 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 I'm sorry, it's a roll call vote. Get this right eventually. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the motion to adopt the consent agenda, Commissioner Boojak. Yes. Vice Chair Burrow.
Yes.
Commissioners DeBoer. Yes. Faber.
Yes.
Halsted. Yes. Hennessy. Yes. Hildenbrand.
Yes.
Coleman.
Yes.
LeGrand.
Yes.
McLeod.
Yes.
Merchant.
Yes.
Morales.
Yes.
Morse.
Yes.
Oliver King. Pakla.
Yes.
Ponstein. Sparks. Steck. Teal. Womack. Chair Green.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 19 yeas, 0 nays. The motion passes. The consent agenda is adopted.
Thank you. We will move on to agenda item number 7, resolutions. We'll move to 7A, and Commissioner Womack is absent. I think I'll call on Commissioner Pakla to move the resolution as a member of that committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's my pleasure to move resolution, apologies, just want to, 19 of today's date, approve 2025 federal and state legislative priorities coming to us from the administration office.
Thank you. Is there support? Supported by Commissioner Oliver King. Okay, is there any conversation, discussion? I don't know if we want to have anybody give a brief overview of this. I think that'd be Lori.
Good morning. When we developed the legislative priorities this year, as we outlined in the standing rules, the process that we went through is that we did ask department directors if they had any significant issues that they would like addressed. We did compare those with the Michigan Association of Counties legislative priorities and then the NACO legislative priorities, which are very extensive, and just tried to really narrow those down based on the feedback that we had received from the strategic planning session in October. So that is how we developed the priorities. Certainly it is not in all extensive list, as there are many issues that we don't know about now that we will be engaging in, and we will make sure that you are all notified about what those issues are and what are the positions that we'll be taking on those issues. So happy to answer questions on any of the specific priorities that you have, but that's a little bit of the process as to how we got here in developing the legislative priorities.
Thanks, Lori. Questions for Lori or general questions or comments? Minority Vice Chair McLeod.
Thank you, Chair. So it's good to understand how the priorities were developed. I just wondered, for one, if this is the normal process of developing the priorities, is the first question. And then the second question is, when we had strategic planning, the strategic planning session, we did come up with an array of different priorities, and I guess that I wasn't clear during that session that those would be compared to all of the, national as well as regional, local kind of priorities, and then just show up on this priority list. I feel like there's a little bit of a disconnect between what we talked about at the strategic planning session and how it ended up here. It would be really great if we could connect those dots and let commissioners know what you're thinking is gonna be put on the priorities before it shows up here for us to vote on. And so I just wondered if there's a way for us to be able to connect those dots a little bit more for the commissioners before they show up here for us to vote on. I know they went to committee, but as I understand, the committee didn't have a lot of input on that either. And so my concern is that we are able to see what's gonna be, be put forth, and then be able to have some consideration given to what we thought versus what ends up here.
And I mean, obviously, this is up to Chair Green and this group. It's probably a good time to evaluate that, because the process that we use to develop our strategic, or our legislative priorities are kind of outlined in the standing rules. And the standing rules now are going under a review. So perhaps there is another kind of layer that we put in so that there's a connection between, the strategic planning session and where we get here. So it's actually a good time to add that into the process, pending a review of the Standing Rules Committee and the support of this full group.
Yeah, and I would add, Vice Chair McLeod, that I think there was a little bit of growing pains with the new committee structure this year on that. In retrospect, we probably could have dedicated some time in our January operations meeting. Commissioner, Vice Chair Burl and I had kind of talked about that after the fact, that we could have spent some time working on this in that committee as kind of a discussion phase and development phase, and then have an opportunity to move them out. So we'd have a little bit more discussion in the committee. Just kind of an oversight in the transition, I think. That's kind of my feedback on that too. I think Lori's right, we can consider how we do that moving forward in the rules process. Other questions or comments? Commissioner Bujak.
Thank you, Chair. With the flurry of activity at the federal level in the last couple months, I know one thing caught my eye on the list here, and that is protecting the tax exempt status of municipal bonds. As you know, we use municipal bonds for many of the projects that we fund, and I think it's important that we keep an eye on that.
Thank you. Others? Commissioner Kallman and then Hennessy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I won't belabor this, as my colleagues on the Ops Committee gave me the chance to dive deeper on this topic, but I'll be voting against these legislative priorities because of the inclusion of the farmland preservation item. Just briefly, as most of you know, I think the existing PDR program is not good policy, but additionally, this is kind of an arcane tax-related issue, which I agree is an issue, but that only affects 19 families in Kent County, and so I do not believe it rises to the level of broad legislative priorities.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Hennessy.
Thank you. Can you tell us how then we will go about implementing these policies, and how we'll communicate them with the legislators?
Yeah, so we're going to take, because this is a little different process, knowing that we have a divided government at the state level, we are going to put together some legislative breakfasts for this commission to talk directly with the legislators. We also are going to be planning on some days for key staff to go to Lansing and talk with legislators, such as like the Violence Prevention Trust Fund. We really need the sheriff there talking to the legislators, so we're going to be kind of doing some targeted days with department directors in Lansing as well on the issues. So those will kind of be the two big ones. The other thing that we always do is that our lobbyist does put in cards when the bills come up on committee, whether we support, oppose, or we submit a letter, et cetera. So there's multiple touch points that we will have as we work through these legislative priorities. And we are in the process of implementing a report so that you guys will be able to see kind of all the bills we're tracking and where our position is and where those are at in the legislative process. Because there are some that are coming pretty fast and furious at us right now that we're going to have to provide some input into.
Thank you. I concur with, Commissioner McLeod's, concerns about our input into this and participating early. And I may, agree with some more than others, but I think overall, it's good that we have such a document. And I hope that next year we'll have a little bit more inclusion of all of our ideas into it. But as we did last year with the Legislative and Human Resources Committee. And so I concur with her on that, but I certainly support, and I support it at this time because it's important. The timeliness is important right now.
Thank you. Commissioner Pakla.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Building off some of the previous comments, I'm appreciative for the opportunity for us to have some clarity around this process and align the work that we're doing here in our legislative priorities with what's in the standing rules. Some of this that I'm saying here, I already said at our standing committee last week, but Commissioner Kallman brings up the number of households that are impacted by the PDR legislative priority. And I just think it's useful for us as a process perspective to try to think about how are we identifying additional opportunities to add to our legislative priorities. Lori laid out a number of ways that we find issues related to here, but this one in particular was raised by one of the standing committees outside of this board right here as a potential issue. So I think the more that we can have some clear, perhaps objective measures by which we are identifying potential issues in that process, and I think that's a non-controversial way to go about this based on the feedback I've heard, the better off we're going to be, because then we'll have opportunities for individual board member input and some clear rules around what kinds of things rise to the surface.
Thank you. Commissioner Morales.
Hi, Lori, you mentioned that there was going to be like a lobbying kind of breakfast or like a legislative breakfast. Is that something that would be open to everybody? I've heard that before, like we would all kind of gather with lobbyists or legislators and be able to have those kinds of conversations with them. Like, do we get to have those direct conversations with them as well?
Yes, when we have done those legislative breakfasts, we have opened them up to whoever wants to come to them to hear the discussion. So we will be finding the dates that you're welcome to attend.
We also, I don't remember if it was last calendar or the one before, but we did have a day when we went down to Lansing, and any commissioner was welcome to join and meet with some of our delegation and some of the leadership in committees that were relevant, like local government, that sort of thing. So I'd like to look at us doing something like that again at some point in this calendar. Thank you. Commissioner LeGrand.
Thank you, Chair. Laura, I wonder if you can give a little clarification on what you mean when we're, how we're going to be responding to things that come up. I know, like, for example, just this week, there's been huge cuts to the CDC, for example, SAMHSA grants. And I know that there's a lot of those at work in Kent County, probably through Network 180 and probably through the health department as well. So when these things, what might be sort of urgent fiscal things come up, how, what's gonna happen? Are we gonna be, alerted about it? Or, what kind of efforts will be made to bring us in on those sort of catch-up lobbying efforts?
Yeah, so the way I think the administrative staff has done it, when these bills come, the first thing that we look at is, does an issue directly impact our operations or one of our programs? Because, I think there's a lot of things that maybe we're involved with, but it may not directly, impact county operations. When it comes to like an issue like that, and we are working with the health department to kind of understand in KCAA some of these, impacts that are coming through. Once we have a good understanding of what those impacts are and what we want to do, the administrator does meet with the board chair to make sure that they are, in line, and then we will then send it out to the entire commission so that they understand, what the impact is to the programs, why we're taking that position, and then what we are doing to communicate it. So we try to move that in real time as fast as we possibly can.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner, thank you. Commissioner Halstead.
Hey, I want to thank you. Overall, the legislative priorities look really good, and I'm in support. I am voting no today, and I just wanted to make clear, just for one thing, because of the PDR, just briefly, I really support our farmers, and I recognize their importance to our economy, but I disagree with that as like a policy, because I think it's a governmental overreach, and it puts unnecessary restrictions on our farmers, and it limits their freedoms to manage their finances in their own land. So while it's short term, maybe a really fun and good thing for them, long term, I feel like it's bad. So I just wanted to make it clear, I'm in support overall, except for the one thing.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner DeBoer.
Thank you, Chair Green. I could echo Commissioner Halstead's comment. I am very supportive, but will be voting no due to the public support of PDR.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Ponstein.
Morning, Lori.
Hello.
So, I mean, there's a lot of issues in the state. It's not just our issues. I think a lot of times when regulations and new bills come through Lansing, it affects, if not all counties, most of them. What's our strategy to kind of make it a stronger voice when it's just not us talking in Lansing, but regional counties that may have the same interests and likes, and obviously the State Association of Counties?
Yeah, I will give you a real-time example of what we're doing. So in the last budget, there was funding that was for the prosecutors. And the boilerplate language was written in such a way that Treasury will not allocate the money to our county treasurers. Prosecutor Becker did bring that to our attention, that the money's already appropriated, it's sitting in Treasury, they just won't push it down to the local prosecutors. So with working with our lobbyists, we did reach out to the chairs of appropriation, we've reached out to leadership, and we're finding this is coming into a bigger political issue about this. So we did engage with MAC, asking them to get involved. We've been reaching out to different prosecutors from Jackson to Oakland to Macomb, asking them, can you please start talking, because it can't just be Kent County saying we're not getting the funding. So we do try to leverage as much as people as we do, as strategically as we possibly can, about here's who we need to target, here's the group we need to do, and we do work really closely with, MAC on those issues, as well as now we're working with the Prosecutors Association, trying to get them engaged with it as well. So when we can, we certainly, the better and more voices on an issue it is, and we do engage with our counterparts quite a bit.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anyone else? Comments or questions? Okay, thanks, Lori. I don't see, I know this is technically a voice vote. We had some folks that have indicated that they're not going to support it, so I think it'd be best to ask for a roll call vote, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Or, nope, I'm Madam Clerk here, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the motion to adopt Resolution 19, Commissioner Bujak. Yes. Vice Chair Pearl.
Yes.
Commissioners DeBoer. No. Faber.
Yes.
Halstead. No. Hennessy.
Yes.
Hildenbrand.
Yes.
Kallman.
No.
LeGrand.
Yes.
McLeod.
Yes.
Merchant. Yes. Morales.
Yes.
Morse.
Yes.
Oliver King. Yes. Pakla.
Yes.
Ponstein. Yes. Sparks.
Yes.
Steck. Teal.
Yes.
Womack. Chair Green.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 16 yeas, 3 nays. The motion passes. Resolution 19 is adopted.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I feel like you gave me a promotion, not a demotion there. All right, we'll move on to agenda item 7B, and I will call again on Commissioner Pakla.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's my pleasure to bat 1,000 today on resolutions and introduce Resolution 20 of today's date, which is coming to us from the, I apologize, I went away from it, from the Administrator's Office. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there support?
Support.
supported by Commissioner LeGrand. Questions, comments, discussion? It's relatively straightforward and had a good chance to review it in the Ops Committee. Okay, seeing none, this is a voice vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. We will now move on to agenda item number 8, which is public comment related to general county matters. If you have something for public comment, please state your name and address, and you have up to 3 minutes. Welcome back, D.
How y'all doing? I'm D. Jones, passionate entrepreneur, future billionaire, future global leader, future global leader, future global leader, future global leader, future billionaire. I have to speak this into existence in Kent County Board. Sorry, y'all. But I have brought this Xbox controller, and I brought this Xbox controller because when I spoke to City Council didn't know that the esports league that I developed with Kent County Board in the 17th Circuit Court, as I brought kids from the juvenile in courts, and we got to go through the facility, the locker rooms, the players' suites, the nice suites from all of the nice, luxurious, rich people. We actually got to go through the control room, and as I got to go through the control room, I seen an Xbox controller, and I learned that they actually control and do all of the replays and all of the cool stuff that people like when you be like, damn, that was a nice sketch, and yeah, and all of the bars go crazy. You got drunk people crazy at the bars. It's all from an Xbox controller. Gaming is a powerful thing, and I'm going to bring the kids from Kent County to the Detroit Lions facility, and I'm doing these esports activations, and I'm bringing the largest regional finals that's going to have a huge economic impact during the 5th largest event in Kent County, which is Comic-Con. Pretty powerful stuff. I'm very excited to be alive, to be the person that's pioneering and doing this, because I don't think anybody could do it like D. Jones. I've spent hours and spent thousands to be able to get these resources, to come back to Kent County, because we didn't have these kind of resources to be able to have epic games. I even got some companies from like Blizzard, which is they just got acquired for like $69 billion. Like last year or something like that. So I have some pretty extensive companies that I have on hand that are richer than the DeVosses and Van Andels, because I said that at City Council, and I'm going to continue to see 10 toes stand on business, because if policies and people were truly ethical in politics, I believe I could be worth hundreds of billions one day, just like all of the other people. I don't think that ethnicity, I just think that some people in politics make it hard for people of color to truly be rich as all of these other white people. And I don't like that, because I believe that if you have the passion, the energy, and you have the business acumen, and you have the business ethics to truly grow at that level, you should be able to do it. And I don't think that America would like to see a black person worth hundreds of billions all alone individually. I love to see that, because there are white people, hundreds of billions, that stole our history and everything, and they could just go crazy on this universe, and we can't. I don't like that. One day, hopefully that changes, because I like the stuff that Donald Trump is doing with the crypto. I don't like what he's doing with education and all this other stuff. But I do like what he's doing with cryptocurrency, because it's not under Rothschild's federal bank and reserve system that they created that's keeping governments in poverty. Thank you.
Thank you, D. I do like the color on those sticks, too. I think that's the electric volt. That's nice. Anybody else for public comment?
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Michael Williams. I live here in Grand Rapids. I work with disability advocates. I'm here to talk about the Countywide Mobility Task Force. First, I want to start by saying April 11th is 25 years since the first transit millage in Kent County. That's something to celebrate, but we have a lot of work to do. With the federal shifts, the Act 51 dollars from the state not being enough and having several shortcomings, even the new $3.1 billion transportation deal at the state doesn't include enough transportation or public transportation to make Act 51 solvent and commensurate with last year's services for local operating funds. It's not a county purview to take on transportation, but Kent County stepped up, and we thank you. Initially, there was really good engagement with the disability community, communities of color, and that's really dwindled since. The last meeting less than 2 weeks ago was barely advertised. I couldn't find it advertised. I found out about it from my boss, Dave Bukowski, with not enough time to make it myself. We expect better transparency from the county if the county is going to have public comment at these events. The project website 2 meetings ago was said to be the place where the members of the task force could go in real time to see the projects or the presentations and the data that was coming in. That project website is still not updated with the presentation from the last meeting. We've spent $300,000 as a county for a set of potential solutions. A set of potential solutions. Yet what we see is they're paving a strategy for one solution, and we're not really seeing multiple solutions. We're seeing the data that they're pulling out being the same data we've seen from ENTF, GVMC, and other local partners for the past decade. We expect better for a $300,000 investment. Now we hear they want to extend to fall. I hope with that extension, they can do better. But I hope we can demand better as a county. First and foremost, a direct ask. Make this task force a standing committee. Transportation isn't going anywhere in this county. I'll say that again, make that task force a standing committee. Secondly, inclusive representation on the task force. That task force is made up of interests in the county, but not the riders who use the systems. Dream big. Part of the solution is dreaming for the future. I've heard Commissioner Coleman say that.
Can
We
you
need to
wrap
think about
up, please?
systems. Yes.
Thank you.
It needs to be multimodal, accessible, affordable, and available for all.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael. Please give our best to former Commissioner Bukowski. We miss him. Welcome.
Good morning. I'm Gail Mansworth, and I'm supposed to give an address, correct?
Pardon me?
Am I supposed to give my home address?
Yes, if you can, or at your municipality. is fine.
720 Eleanor Street. I
Thank
live
you.
here in Grand Rapids,
Thank you.
but I used to live out in Rockford, and I'm here about the Transportation Task Force as well, the Mobility Task Force. And I too did not find out about, well, I didn't find out about it the last meeting 2 weeks ago until after the meeting. And I've been to several of them, and I was very disappointed that I couldn't be there to hear what $300,000 is being invested, and to have my voice included in that. And so I am here today to let you know that that has not happened, that my voice is not heard. And also I want to piggyback on Michael here is there's not representation of those who use the system. There are people who know about people who use the system, but not people who do. I am visually impaired. I use public transportation. I had to move down from Rockford to use it because I was going broke trying to get in here into Grand Rapids. So that is all I have to say. I applaud you for doing it because, as Michael has said, you are not required to do anything for transportation. And it would be such a wonderful investment for business, for recreation, to get around the county, for people, benefit outside the county communities. The back and forth exchange of commerce would be amazing. And I encourage you to step it up, be more inclusive, and to be more transparent and get that word out. Thank you, and I yield the floor.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else for public comment? Welcome. You can give
Hello.
your name and address too, please. Thanks.
My name is Shannon Tanis, and I'm currently displaced in Kent County. I sent a FOIA appeal in response to this board, the chair. I have high concerns regarding the Kent County Sheriff FOIA coordinator and the process that I've already engaged in being deficient. Also, I have an attachment with my FOIA indicating request for private session for a resolution to these matters. The matters that I have to address with this board in regarding Kent County have to do with trafficking of young children and young adults that have been priorly involved in our juvenile system and family court system. I already have evidence of this, and it is attached to federal funds, those victim funds, those Social Security funds, those resource funds, those housing funds. So the federal jurisdiction about fiduciary responsibility and the maladministration of that has been going on for quite some time. That's why you have the current climate of President Trump denying so much funding, is because you have been depriving the people of their rights and the direct access to that and the full benefit to be able to be successful with that. So I continue to encourage President Trump to do what he's doing. I am directly connected to calling out those mechanisms very significantly, and I am willing to work with this board, but I have been harmed so much by government bodies, government officials, because they have used these as weapons to impact my life and other people's lives. We are at the point we are done. I will tell everyone and say it publicly if I do not get the resolution that and relief that I need to have these things addressed appropriately. I have previously also had the former chief of police in Wyoming replaced via the FBI in my knowledge of corruption and fraud that has gone on. I also currently am oversighting MSHA, and the board liaison officer has requested a letter from me so they can have a resolution because of the open violations meetings act that they've already just did on the 20th of this month. So I open the door, I implore, but if not, I will seek other avenue to address these harms that have impacted many people and that continue to happen and impact. I've asked Kent County health officials to address the housing public safety concerns. There's just a multitude of topics and issues that need to be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tanis. Typically, we don't engage in dialogue during this portion, but I will just confirm that I received your communication yesterday, and we'll review it. Thank you. Is there anyone else for public comment? Okay, I see none. Thank you. We'll move to agenda item 9, which is the administrator's report. Do you have anything, our stand-in administrator today, Mark?
No current updates.
Okay. I had a commissioner ask if we were getting John Rambo today, and I said sadly no, but Mark said, you know, I can barely tell you guys apart, so. Okay, we'll move on to agenda item 10, reports. I will say that we have received and filed letters of support for broadband initiatives, just sharing that. Any other commissioners with reports? Don't see any. Great. We will move on to agenda item number 11, miscellaneous. Anyone with miscellaneous today? Commissioner Ponstein.
Thank you, Chair Green. You know, that was a nice controller, that Xbox thing. I can honestly say I don't think I've ever had one in my hand. And in fact, when I was straightening out my basement, I actually found an old Game Boy, and I don't even think that was ever played, so.
You weren't a Pokemon guy, Commissioner?
Some time with me, if he's gonna put those controllers at my desk to make the meetings go quicker. So, no, I just want to comment on the legislative priorities. You know, it always seems to come up, and people can disagree on the subject, whether you think a farm should be preserved into the future or let it be developed. The thing that's frustrating is that the story is that if we do this, and we're only doing it for 19, I don't care if it's 1 or 5 or 100. I mean, they went into an agreement, the state's trying to take that back, and I don't care how many, whether it's 1 or 5,000. It's still important that we stand up for the residences and businesses in the town. But But the underlying thing is always, when this comes up, is that we're taking away freedoms and rights from the farmers to do what they want. That's not the true assault on farms and agriculture in this country. And there's the days coming sooner than we think where ag, we've seen it with, egg prices. We saw it through COVID, the weaknesses that we have, foreign ownership of our farmland. The real assaults come from people like Herbie Herbuck's, one of the largest egg producers in the country. They're located in Michigan, and they can have a federal government that can dictate to them to kill over 3 million chickens to fight bird flu with no science, behind it, basically raising egg prices, costing them money, and putting their business in jeopardy. The same thing happens when a farm goes to sale up in Hart, and Consumers Power is there with an unwritten rule that they can spend as much as they want to buy that prime asparagus farm in Hart County and blocking out any other farmers around them to continue that practice. It's also government regulations telling farmers what they can and can't do. It's the neighbor that's constantly calling the health department about what they're putting in their fields, and they want that stopped. It's our stock market in this country that treats ag as a commodity, and the price of those are set by some high rollers on Wall Street instead of what the true cost of that farmer to make a profit and sell his profit there. That's the real issues, and those are the issues that we never talk about. All we want to talk about is PDR, and we can have that discussion, but that's not the threat to farmland. The threat is from everything that they have to do and still try to make a living. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anyone else with miscellaneous today? I don't see anyone. Oh, Commissioner Faber.
Just quickly, I just want to share a little bit of concern over the cadence of our meetings. I know this will come up in the standing rules as well, but just a reminder that some of our standing committees have 12 to 15 departments, excuse me, that will need to report. And we're really depending on those standing committees to get that information. So before we cancel meetings, even if there isn't an action item, I'd really encourage us to think about still having reports, or we are going to get really log jammed at the end of the year. And I think we owe all of our departments the opportunity to share and really show how we're doing in performance. So I just want to flag that.
Thank you, Commissioner. We'll take that under consideration for standing rules for sure. Anyone else? Okay. Seeing none, I will call on Commissioner Hildebrand for adjournment.
Thank you, Chair Green. I move we adjourn, subject to the call of chair, to Thursday, April 24th, 2025 at 8:30 a.m. for an official Kent County Board meeting.
Before I call that vote, I just want to remind everybody we're going to have a work session on the capital budget. And let's say we'll start that at about 9:30. Give everybody a quick breather here. Okay. Is there support for support by Commissioner Merchant? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you.